Washington Post columnist, former U.S. Attorney, DOJ official, law professor at UCSD and UCLA, and executive producer of the Talking Feds podcast, which has been officially endorsed by none other than Harvard professor Lawrence Tribe. I'm too exhausted to do the interview now. Exhausted by your resume, Harry Litman.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had. And by the way, thanks for putting to the best dinner of my lifetime at Politicon that you put together with you, me, Jill Winebanks, Malcolm Nance, Ellie Mistel, Maya Wiley. I mean, OMG, right?
That was really quite the all-star squad, and a great place too that we just sort of stumbled into.
Yeah, that was my how the hell did I get invited to this moment of Politicon? But thank you. So happy impeachment week. Let's talk about. So it's quite a shock to you, I imagine, that the White House has declined to participate.
Done.
What's that?
Their overall strategy there is to try not to validate and just not to look at this monolithic set of facts to the face. So and for all their complaints, due process, no witnesses, etc., if they actually put up or shut up on it, then they would lose that talking point. And I think that's given how bad the facts are for them, that's just too valuable to surrender. Plus, what are they going to say? Plus, at least for the legal panel, they'll have surrogates. They'll have one before there to express some kind of bizarro idea about why this was really just a sort of minor little parking ticket of a presidential offense. So.
Right. I want to congratulate you on your commitment to holding on to that Sports Illustrated sneaker phone that you've had since 1973, Harry.
We're having a little bit of trouble hearing you.
I am too. I'm a little bit fuzzy bottom of the bathtub, but I said forge on. Can you hear me okay now?
Let's give you
a little better, because you're brilliant, and I want to hear every point.
Better now.
It's a little better now.
Okay.
All right, and now we're in a Verizon commercial. Now, Harry.
He switched, didn't he switch?
Yes, he did. That guy switched.
Smart guy, huh?
Oh, there you go. Okay, so let's. So again, no surprise they're not going to participate in this. But let's talk about. There's so many things going on at once here, isn't there? There's obviously this story that the Justice Department is, making moves to do a criminal prosecution of this Ukraine thing. What do you make of this with Bill Barr involved? I mean, is this just to throw Rudy under the bus?
Very interesting. I mean, it is and it isn't. And, in past impeachments, there was always that kind of pincer move where if people lied or, otherwise criminal conduct was brought to light, there was the cop on the beat. And we've had instances where it was really necessary. For instance, it seems very possible that Sondland committed rank perjury, certainly enough to open an investigation. But that does seem all likely squashed at main justice by Bill Barr. However, there is the Southern District of New York that already has a case pending involving Rudy Giuliani, and they can. It doesn't take much to start an investigation and open one up. So you're right. There is at least the prospect that some of this stuff will eventuate in a criminal investigation, and there's nothing like that to sort of loosen the vocal cords of witnesses who right now are, have impunity, can decide, I don't feel like going up, or I'll just lie. I mean, it's a completely slanted playing field now, and one, I would add, that's, inimical to the separation of powers that we're supposed to have now. This is supposed to be a very serious investigation, Congress doing its perhaps most grave constitutional function, but it's being rigged repeatedly at the executive branch level, and that just changes the whole calculation, and not simply in a political gamesmanship way, but in terms of the ability of the country to know just what the hell happened here and how to assess it. And I think of late the Dems have been doing a pretty good job with one hand behind their back of just
I'll say
cards they've been dealt, and putting one foot in front of the other.
Harry, you tweeted Rudy Giuliani hasn't been summoned by prosecutors from his old office yet. That's not a good sign for him. Meanwhile, they're pursuing a laundry list of serious felonies, including obstruction, money laundering, and wire fraud. He's in deep. I guess that's the question of the hour. Does he flip? Do you think?
Can't see it. I mean, I at least not in a timely way. I think he's so committed. As maybe this is why Trump likes him so much, to this complete, contemptuous posture of just denying the facts in front of him. And I assume if an indictment comes out, and it'll be a while, I think, to work its way up, he'll just, completely play it like the outlaw he's become. Whether he could flip in a year, if Trump is not in office, and it really is him or Trump, that's a pretty interesting situation. I don't, and Giuliani, like Trump, a man in his 70s used to the big steak dinners now, does not want to wind up in prison.
And clearly several martinis.
That, but I can't see it in the short term.
Right. Well, Harry, I guess, yeah, it's interesting. I'm looking at all these stories sort of colliding at once. The Justice Department's internal Russia inquiry will undercut Trump's FBI spying claim. So this thing they've been trumpeting, right? The Horowitz report. Oh, it's going to. It obviously proves none of their conspiracy theories. So you just wonder: is there only so much Barr can do? If, like I say, there's career prosecutors that have, the facts. Because I feel like, as a prosecutor, you must go, we have facts. They have absolutely disproven conspiracy theories, and that's it, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, yes and no. And even the conspiracy theory from the start was kind of bankrupt in the sense that whatever you posit, let's say there were, in the fantasy notion of Bill Barr, there was a spy inside the Trump camp. So what? At the end of the day, I mean, it's always been an attempt to change the subject from the blunt and really damning facts that are now, in front of the American people. So if that's disproven, and it does look like the Horowitz report, which comes out a week from today, will not substantiate, Jim Jordan and Devin Nunes' hopes. They'll have some other way to try to change the subject. It's all about changing the subject and being away from the merits. So you might have seen Pat Cipollone's screed this morning, the White House counsel saying we won't play ball, and then just starting out, this is a purported impeachment inquiry and getting more vituperative by the paragraph, but with no attempt to engage on the merits. And they see this in all political terms. That probably shouldn't surprise us. And they're looking at playing their best hand of trying to just keep the base in line, and to it's somewhat surprising and discouraging. But if you just play it straight by the polls, it looks like those last 2 weeks, which I saw as a tour de force by Schiff and
right.
factual demonstration beyond any doubt, didn't move the overall political needle that much. Of course, we're already at 50% for removal, but
right.
Nevertheless, that's their game, and there's just zero. At the end of the day, Nixon. Even the Dems played along with Clinton, and Nixon saw the importance of answering the charges.
Well, right.
Their effort is just to make a mockery of it all and hope nobody looks too close.
Well, and Harry, this is where, it can't be over. I don't even know if there's something beyond calling it a constitutional crisis, but when we talk about Giuliani, whether it's Manafort, I mean, it's pretty clear he's going to try to pardon everybody and blow through a whole nother set of norms, right?
Could well be. I mean, he's been that brazen, and I think it'll just be based on his self-interest at the very end. I think his calculation then, he's also very capable of turning on people and just, throwing everybody under the bus. Come the time when he has to pull the trigger, will his calculation be that if he does it, he's more likely to face, a criminal trial? That's what it'll be about. But in terms of norm busting, I think there's really never been a president who's been so indifferent to them and so willing to. I don't even think he has a sense of them or understands them. He just has this very, very small-minded kind of sense of what's good for Trump. I mean, this whole scandal has come up, started the day after the Mueller report came out. You might have thought a normal person would be chastened and try to, stay in the lane for a few blocks, but it didn't stop him at all. He's a really unusual psychological guy, this president of ours.
That's very kind, putting it like that. It really, but I almost feel like legally we have to Trump-proof the presidency when he's gone. I don't think the founders envisioned this. There's got to be a way to make sure this doesn't happen again. That's why I feel like, precedent is so important here.
So true. Bob Bauer, a really, really smart guy, has a piece in the New York Times today, just basically explaining this is the Constitution's worst nightmare. I mean, what the hell has gone on these last few years, and it really seems as if the Constitution just hasn't quite been up to the task. And I've thought about this a lot and why it might be so. But really, there's never been a stronger case for impeachment and removal. And removal has to be taken as a real long shot here. And he's been able not simply to ignore or to stiff arm the process and the investigation, but actually keep everybody in the executive branch from testifying. It's terribly warped, and there's the constitutional scheme. We revere the framers, but there's either they couldn't have designed something to be for all seasons, and it really looks to me like we're not, in some ways, for different reasons, which we could talk about for hours, the Constitution's just not quite up to this rascal.
Yeah, well, if it weren't for my need to pay my bills, we could talk for hours. But, speaking of which, I mean, I think what must be terrifying to you as a former prosecutor is not just the judiciary, the Supreme Court. You just wrote a piece about, Trump may be able to keep his tax record secret through the 2020 election. The Supreme Court's move to grant a stay in one case involves about the president returns means neither members of Congress nor prosecutors may be able to dislodge them for months. I mean, and because I think whatever's in there obviously is probably going to be, if not jailable, certainly would be career ending. And it's
probably right. You tear your hair out, and then then you have bald patches. And what do you do? I mean, I'm a prosecutor, but I'm really like a rule of law guy.
Yeah.
And this is serious. When he was first elected, I took him to be a kind of buffoon who maybe wouldn't do, hopefully stay out of war or whatever. But he's really taken a wrecking ball to constitutional norms, and because of a terrible confluence of factors involving Mitch McConnell and Bill Barr and the nature of his base, he has, as you say, done real damage. And Trump-proofing the presidency at best will be a matter of a couple generations. What he's done to the Department of Justice and the FBI, it's no joke. It's really depressing interlude.
Yeah, we need all those heroes on the wall, including Lisa Page, who you tweeted about. Lisa Page standing up to the Lisa Page standing up to the world's biggest bully, and a sexist one at that. Good for her. As she wrote, the president of the U.S. is calling me names to the entire world. He's demeaning me and my career. It's sickening, but it's also very intimidating because he's still the president. And she went on to say, but the damage he's done to her beloved FBI, right?
Right, her beloved, and think about it. She is, by all accounts, nobody would say. Same thing with Strzok. They had these imprudent little texts. So what? They were taken immediately off the case. I guarantee you, having worked a lot with the Bureau, that there would be much more incendiary stuff about Hillary at the time.
Yep.
But the question is, are they doing their jobs? And Lisa Page has always done her job, and all of a sudden the president of the United States is not only coming after you, but in this incredible, gross sixth grade way, and orgasms, and come on.
Yeah, she's two little kids. She's married with two little kids. Yeah. He's gross. Harry, this was, your phone improved over time because I could tell that you wanted to connect with me.
Okay. Yes. I sent out the good vibes. Well, it's really a pleasure. I've wanted to do it since our dinner, and I hope we can do it again.
Absolutely. And the podcast is Talking Feds. Get it, everybody? Talking Feds.
Hey.
Talking
got a big
by
issue
the
out
way,
today.
If I can do a quick plug, today we're dropping a special 2-part series anticipating the Wednesday hearing, and check this out. We've Tribe, Chemerinsky, Jamie Raskin, David Frum, Jill Winebanks, and Liz Holtzman from Watergate.
Wow.
All talking about the Wednesday hearing, so,
Wow. That's a panel palooza. Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. All right,
Thanks
Harry.
a lot. Good to be with you.
You too. All right, there he goes. Harry Litman.
Right.
Former prosecutor, former
gonna
everything.
go get that
Professor
podcast.
DOJ.
Yeah.
What?
Washington Post columnist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.